the US is either in collapse or on the precipice of collapse or a declining power. And so therefore you just, sit back and say, what's the rush?
We are so out of our league with these people. Like, we're talking about, like, mayors in China have PhDs, like, in engineering. Like, Putin has written dissertations. Modi is a PhD. Like, this guy got an MBA from Wharton because he's, like, rich.
You remember that picture of Xi, Putin, and Modi together? That picture from, I think it was the Shanghai.
Yeah, SCO.
The Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And when they were together, you know how I think about this picture? These are three civilization states of like the oldest variety. I mean, two of them are actual ancient civilizations.
Yeah.
Sense of,
Yeah, China and India.
China, 5,000, and you have Indus Valley, India, back in the day, another plus 5,000 year civilization. Russia, of course, over 1,000 years in terms of the Rus themselves. And then before that, of course, all the other inhabitants, and really, for some, the real origin of the spread of humanity, especially in Eurasia. But if you think about those three leaders, they're saying, okay, the new kid on the block is having a fit. But we know that the new kid is eventually going to pout and might even, just leave the game altogether or just implode and get taken out. And so I think that they're sitting there. I mean, one has to recognize that these three leaders, they're not stupid. They read history, they read books, they are very well educated. And it's not rocket science to read from different professors and thinkers that we also like and admire that are basically saying the US is either in collapse or on the precipice of collapse or a declining power. And so therefore you just, sit back and say, what's the rush? What are you rushing for? And that's what we see. We see, if you were to think about it, we see a strategic patience that might also be a strategic patience to see what happens internally in the US and to kind of keep looking at the US as a power that's on the edge, on the rocks, having its own internal dynamics. And of course, they won't interfere, but they're just like, maybe now's not the right time, to deal with you in this way.
It's a shame I don't still have the Victor Gal clip where she says, you're going to lose America. And he goes, we don't care. We don't care.
Yeah, and China will lose the US market, which, as I've said, is 15%.
We don't care. We don't care. China has been here for 5,000 years. Most of the time, there was no United States, and we survived. Right. And if the United States wants to bully China, we will deal with the situation without the United States. And we expect to survive for another 5,000 years.
Emotional, damn it.
It's just the greatest. It's the greatest clip. It's so fantastic. I play it constantly in the MAGA spaces. No, I'm not racist. I just love this. We don't care. Like, he's like very assertive and yelling at the British interviewer. Oh, I love Victor Gal so much. But yeah, you're right. And you said these are smart leaders. We are so out of our league with these people. Like, we're talking about, like, mayors in China have PhDs, like, in engineering. Like, Putin has written dissertations. Modi is a PhD. Like, this guy got an MBA from Wharton because he's rich. Like, what are we doing? Like, Lavrov went, I think he went to Migmo, and he's dealing with who? Rubio? Like, really? Could you imagine putting Pete Hegseth and Belousov in a room together? Would you insult him that way?
Belousov, and first of all, Belousov comes from a very distinguished academic family. His dad was an amazing professor as well. I just can't imagine that.
It's they're playing two different games, and I think a lot of it is like, why don't we just wait until America wears themselves out? Like, this isn't sustainable.
It's funny because I would always ask my students about, just as an aside, because you brought it up now, I think it's an important point. The kind of stereotypes, like people, when they think of stereotypes, I'm like, okay, what's your stereotype of a Russian woman? And they're like, I don't know, KGB agent, prostitute, who knows what? What's your stereotype of a Russian man? Like a gangster, sort of like drunk. A mafioso, a drunk. And then nobody ever sits down and thinks like, wait a minute, they had an empress, they had, Tsar Catherine the Great, they had fucking Pushkin, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, they had Shostakovich, Chekhov. I mean, they had all these greats, all these enormous thinkers, Chekhov, you name it. And the thing is that Russia actually is an extremely intellectual society, also because of the language complexity. It's far more complex and rich than English. That's for damn sure. I think that people love to read. I see people opening up books everywhere and reading. There's such a culture of reading and like literature here, and people writing books, and people writing articles for just for fun, and people like writing their memoirs. Everybody writes their memoirs here. Like, the life of a seamstress, and I'm like, somehow everybody has like some amazing stories. Like, okay, life of a seamstress, but I like sewed like 50,000 pairs of socks for the Great Patriotic War.
Yeah.
Hero of labor, something like that. That's what it's like here. And just the perception that the US is seen here. I mean, they're really a bunch of cowboys, really a bunch of like, they always consider them kind of like more brutish and not as refined, not as, more on the edge in terms of people. I just like to see that it's like the reverse in the US conception. But of course, the facts remain that these three countries, these three civilizations are very learned and very wise. And they know a thing. They've been on the block a while, so they know a thing or two about a young power coming up and a little bit too big for its own good, and they just bide their time. They got a lot of it.